Hey coaches, it's John Chris, Glazier Clinics. Appreciate that message from. Oops, sorry there. Appreciate that message from Huddle. We'll see if we can get started again here with the second session. It's Coach Tom Miller from University or the Colorado State University Pueblo, presenting his second session Special Teams Game Day Organization. Um, I will just go straight into it, Coach. Let me see if I can give the control of the screen over to you. You there, Coach?
I'm here.
All right, yeah, it's all yours, Coach. Go ahead. Appreciate you coming back for us.
Okay, my pleasure. I'm in order to talk about game day organization, and I think it's important to talk about game week, and to start out with our philosophy and how we build our special teams. And I think it's an emphasis. It's something that everybody likes to talk about, and in my opinion, a lot of people give lip service to it. And by that I mean they don't divide their coaching staff, or that players aren't held accountable. That sometimes your best players aren't on the field, and I think it's important to, if you expect to get a great performance, and it's a big part of winning football games. In the college game, somewhere around 25, an average of around 25 plays in a 60-minute game will be special teams downs, special teams plays, and they're huge. They're huge plays very often. There's always going to be a big play on a special teams down, and on a kickoff or a kickoff return. And you have to devote coaching staff, and you have to make make sure that coaches are the same degree of accountability is expected on a punt team, for instance, or a kickoff return, or as on their very often what their first love is another position. Everybody's coaching a different position, and time has to be devoted. There has to be a sufficient amount of time devoted, meeting time, film time, practice time, walkthrough time. It has to be there if you expect to have results. And then the last but certainly not least, your personnel, and the best personnel to get the job done. That doesn't mean that it's always starters, or that, but you better have some stars out there. You better have, when there's people touching a football, they better be your best players on the field. And of course, sometimes the best player for the position for that particular play may be a backup who's really anxious to get in there and is rested. So you have to, that's constantly, you have to constantly judge what it means, to have the best player on the field, and for that particular job. But if you're the special teams coordinator, you have to be the head coach of the special teams. You have to be able to say, I want this guy to coach in this place. I want these players, and you may get overruled, but don't be afraid to ask. You've got a wish list, and this is what it is. And then if you've got 2 or 3 guys helping with the punt team, or whatever unit it might be, then you've got to lead those guys. You've got to tell them what they need to do when you meet. One of the things that I think is really important is to we have a film meeting with the punt team, for instance. I will the guy who's coaching the kick side guard and tackle. He sits with those guys. So in a way, he's also taking role. He knows who's there. If it's 2 deep or 3 deep in each position, I don't have to run through. I don't have to waste meeting time to know who's there. You make sure that they're all there, they're attentive, and you also don't. And then the backside and the gunners coach is sitting with the gunners, and the shield guys are sitting with the shield coach. And so they're relaying messages just like I'm relaying overall messages during a film meeting. But those guys are not having to talk over one another, because there's very often a lot of people talking during a meeting, but they're sitting together just like offense and defense would sit together. We think we'll win because of the kicking game, and that we'll never make sure that we never lose a game because of it. Our season goals, and again, you try not to have 100 goals, but this is something that we constantly are reminding our football team, and we talk about it in game day preparation. In game day meetings. When we talk about special teams, and we ask each unit to stand up and on Saturday morning, and the punt team stand up, and if this guy goes down, he sits down, and somebody stands up to replace him. And the field goal unit, who's the first replacement at center, or who's the first replacement at the up back. And then when we sit them all down and we talk about these goals. Again, to gain or retain possession of the football, create field position for the offense or defense, be big momentum changers. Make sure that that what we're involved with is creating momentum for the football team, and not allowing the other team to gain momentum because of the special teams unit that's out there. Score or set up scoring situations, and also prevent scores, block kicks, great coverage, so the team's got to go a long way. Set the tempo for the game. The big thing about our weekly and game day success is our weekly time commitment. We play on Saturday. Sunday is we've got to give players a day off on Sunday. Although we all know coaches don't get a day off on Sunday, but Sunday's the players' day off. And on Monday, after we've of course graded all the film, we've gone over all the film, including special teams downs, special teams plays. I've gone over on Sunday with the punt coaches, with the hammer team coaches, with the kickoff. Each unit. I'll sometimes make a cut up. So that we don't have to look at all of them, but sometimes we look at all of them and then make a cut up for Monday for the players. And we have a total of 1 hour of special teams film time on Monday, and there will be 15 minutes on each of the big four units, and then during our offense or defensive film time on Mondays, the field goal protection and field goal block teams will be viewed by the offensive line and defensive line coaches. But usually what we do is we break up. We'll have 2 units with a film meeting, for instance, punt and punt return, and then we'll go out and practice for about an hour. And but during that time, I give an award or several awards for great effort or great performance in each unit, and just make a little certificate up. We don't have a budget to hand out expensive awards or anything, but just like yourself, I'm sure, make a certificate. I call it the Blue Balls Award. And Blue Balls, on a certificate, it'll have Blue Balls Award for Adams State game, uh, uh, and the kid's name typed on it, and you know, a wolf head in the background. Try to make it as nice as it possibly can, and it might be for great coverage or a great return or great specialist performance. You know, whatever it might be, and I try to, you know, be selective. But if it's okay, if there are 2 or 3 guys on a unit that, you know, gunners have done a great job at covering or created a turnover, obviously, you know, that's a big play. So make it special, but look for things that you know, that are outstanding performances and reward them. And you know, sometimes you'd be surprised how much you know, those kids want to be recognized, and they're in that meeting, and so, you know, what you're doing is you're motivating people to want to be on those units, and of course, you know, we go out on the field and on Monday and correct any problems we might have, particularly with our punt team versus a scout team, and you're always making corrections on the punt protection and coverage. You know, it's never ending. You know, right to game day. You know, you've got to coach that thing up. That unit is so important, and you can't have any mistakes. Mistakes cause disaster with the punt team. So that's our practice on Monday, and then on Tuesday we'll have a 10-minute punt install meeting. During that time, we'll look at the opponents. We'll cut up a few clips of the opponent, either rush or return, and or you know, usually one of both. And then we'll talk about any adjustments that we're going to make and any emphasis that we might have. We have a 5-minute specialist period, the first part of practice, and then during that time we're kicking and catching and as normal, and also working on punt block skills with the guys that are not involved in those other with those other skills. And then we'll have 10 minutes of punt practice, and the first 5 will on Tuesdays is your most physical day for us, and it's a fully padded practice, and we will pressure. The majority of that first 5 minutes will be concentrated on pressures, and then the second 5 minutes we'll work mixing some hold up and some return with our pressures, so that our guys have got the cover. And then at the end usually at the end of practice, or sometimes, you know, we try to mix it up a little bit, but we'll put it toward the end of practice. We'll split up our our extra point field goal protection at one end, at one goal post, and our field goal block team at the other goal post, and we'll have their looks as far as pressures and working against our protection, and then also we'll pressure some live rushes. We'll go some live rushes against a scout team that will have their protection. We're not expecting our scout team to kick the ball, but we're just trying to fit up with the right pressures and the right gaps and adjust to their alignments. On Wednesday, we'll have